that is a scary, scary, scary thing. Because it doesn't say one or two will say to me on that day. It doesn't say a small percentage will say to me on that day. It says many. Many people will come to the throne of God thinking that they had made that decision to be Him, to be like Him, made that decision to know Him. Many will think, yeah, I was a good person. I came to church, I went on a couple mission trips, made my kids go to church. I read my Bible sometimes. I sang along in the worship song. What the heck else was I supposed to do? The next one. The greatest commandment. This is how we worship. A Pharisee was trying to trick Jesus, trying to play a little mind game with him and ask him what the greatest commandment was. And this is Jesus' answer. The guy says, "Teacher, what is the greatest commandment in the law?" And he said to him, without skipping a beat, it doesn't say he took a couple weeks break to think about it. It doesn't say he went to the library and researched it. It doesn't say he looked at his disciples and was like, "Can you answer this question?" He says, "You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. This is the great and first commandment." How do you worship? You love God. You love Him. You give yourself completely to His desires. You become His servant. You daily bow in reverence to Him. You respect the fact that He died for you. You become grateful. You love Him. And the next part of how we worship is you love other people too. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. On these two commandments depend all the law and the prophets. What he's saying there is if you take this out, the law and the prophets are worthless. This book becomes pointless. The rules, the coming to church, the going on mission trips, the witnessing to people, all of the stuff that you're doing without this is detestable to Him, like He said in the very beginning. If I had loved Jamie Anderson, I had really loved that girl. She would have had so many flowers, it would have been weird. She would have had to make outfits out of flowers. If I had caught a whiff of the fact that she liked flowers, she would have got flowers. My wife likes flowers. She gets flowers. When we moved here from Tyler, where we lived, there were dozens of vases that we never used from flowers that we got. And I was like, "Do you want to keep these?" She said, "Yeah, that's a whole other issue." My wife likes flowers. She gets flowers. Not because I want the rewards of giving her flowers, but because I love her. And she deserves a forest of flowers. She deserves an earth filled with the things that she loves. That is my goal in life, is to, in some small measure, give her what she deserves by loving her. I don't ask her for a book of rules to follow and say, "Okay, I'm going to follow these and you have to love me." I don't ask for that. I seek after her. I draw close to her. I love her. I worship her daily. And in the same way, we have to do that with our Savior, with God. For it is worthless. This whole thing we're doing becomes completely a waste of time. So what we're going to do is the band's going to come up. And we're going to worship. We're going to worship with some music. The band is going to come up. That is your cue band. We're going to worship with music today. This is the first step that we're going to take. And then when we leave this place, we're going to continue to worship. We are going to be in submission to God's authority. We are going to allow our lives and our desires to become in line with His. And what I want you to do while we're worshiping is one of three things. If you can honestly answer the question of, are you living a life of worship? If you can say, yes, I understand what you're saying, I get it. I wish other people would understand. I'm totally in line with what you're saying. If that's you, then give this moment completely over to God. Worship with all your heart. Worship with all your soul. Forget the people next to you and give Him some songs. If you would say, on the other end of it, I don't get it. This is not me. I don't want to do this. This is weird. This doesn't feel like anything that I'm interested in. And I want you to ask the question, why? Why not? If you're in the middle, being in the middle is a very dangerous place to be. I don't know if you know this. In fact, God is very specific about it. He says, you are neither hot nor cold. I will spit you out of my mouth. If you're in the middle, I'm not trying to be mean to you, but what I am saying to you is you need to make a decision. You need to make a choice. You're either going to do this thing or you're not. Because I'll tell you right now, God would rather you say no than be in the middle. Now, ultimately, He would much rather you say yes. But if you're not going to make a decision, God will spew you out of His mouth.
Delicious.
So while we're worshiping, if you're that middle person, if you are unsure either way, if you're living this life, if you're not, you have no idea, I want you to really think about it. Ask yourself, what are you holding back? What are you holding on to? What are you keeping inside? I can tell you the moment that my life shifted from asking God what I want to asking God what He wants. I was dating a girl named Megan. All right? I thought I was going to marry this girl. I was completely confident this is what I wanted. Because I was ignoring this tiny little voice inside me saying, no, you're not. Nope. I didn't want to hear it. I had no interest in that. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. When Megan broke up with me and my life fell apart, sort of, this was in college, not like ninth grade. God showed me, Nick, you idiot, I've been telling you this the whole time. You weren't listening. You were doing what you wanted. You were doing what you wanted. That was the moment. Thanksgiving Day, I remember, when I decided He was right. I no longer have any interest in what I want, but I more would rather have what He wants for me. So I want you to think about what it is you're holding back. What is your Megan? Who is your Megan? What is your thing that you are locked into that you're not listening to God about?